You're welcome to another video of the course F5 Big IP DNS. In this section, I'm going to talk about F5 DNS order of operations, which is the sequence in which F5 DNS modules process and resolve a DNS query. In other words, when a DNS query is received in F5 DNS listener, which of iRules, wide IP, DNS Express, DNS cache, DNS load balancing, or F5 DNS local bind service will process the DNS query. When a DNS query with destination of DNS listener is received in F5 DNS system, there are several modules to resolve it. It can be intelligently resolved through wide IP. It can be accelerated using DNS Express or DNS cache or load balancing to a pool of DNS servers. It can be resolved recursively over external DNS servers or iteratively over routine servers or even via a local bind service. All of these F5 DNS modules are discussed during the course, but the order of operation is what we discuss in this section. This table shows how DNS queries are processed in order in F5 DNS system and the lessons that we have discussed and demonstrated in this course for each module. When a DNS query comes into the F5 DNS system, the first priority goes to DNS iRules to process and resolve the query. iRules are actually the exceptions within DNS query workflow and allow for tailored processing and routing of requests based on specific conditions. If a DNS query does not correspond to any pre-configured iRules, it proceeds to the wide IP module. The system then checks for a wide IP that matches the query. If a match is found, the query is resolved using intelligent decision making based on the user's location and the network metrics configured within wide IP setting. When a DNS query does not match any of the configured wide IP, it then compared with zones configured as DNS Express within F5 DNS system. DNS Express zones are those for which F5 acts as a secondary authoritative DNS server. If the query does not match any of DNS Express zones, then it tries to resolve the query based on DNS cache. There are two different types of cache: DNS transparent cache and DNS resolver cache. DNS transparent cache uses external DNS resolver to resolve the queries and then cache the responses. When a subsequent query for the same resources is received, the system can immediately return the response from the cache. DNS resolver cache resolves DNS queries itself through iterating to root DNS servers, TLD name servers, and authoritative DNS server, and then cache the responses. When the system receives a query for the response that exists in the cache, it returns the cache response. If no DNS caches are configured, it checks whether a DNS server pool is assigned to the DNS listener. If present, based on load balancing algorithm, the query is forwarded to one of the DNS servers configured in the pool to resolve the DNS query. While this is not efficient and is not recommended, it is possible to resolve DNS queries using local F5 DNS bind service as the last priority. Notice that a listener is required for any DNS resolution except local bind service or zone runner. And the last point is that if a DNS query arrives on F5 DNS that is not destined for a listener address, but it is destined for a self IP that has port UDP 53 unlocked, the query will be processed by F5 local bind service.